I was going to. Anyway, hello, hello, hello. You know, this is so exciting. You never know what's going to happen here. It said start the broadcast 10 minutes early. So we don't know what's going on, but we just go with the program. Hello and welcome. It's me, it's Joy Ruffen coming to you from the Sunshine State, Florida. And this is Leading Ladies, Leading Legacies, Living Legacies. We come to you every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And tonight, my guest is going to share an interesting and fascinating story with you. Her name is Valerie Zollinger. And what I want to do is just give you a little bit about her background. It's fascinating, but I want her to tell you a little bit about her background and why she does what she does, because it's much more interesting. The backstory is good, but you want to hear what's going on now. One of the reasons that Valerie is here and that I love what she's about and what she's doing, she thinks global. Her company is a global company. She is a coach, a leader, and a teacher, and she helps us, women, men and women, to navigate through change and overcome obstacles, and we all have them from time to time. She has a master's degree in social work and over 10 years of experience working in the mental health and medical settings. She has a great background. The title that we gave for her show tonight is How You Can Thrive in Whatever It Is That You're Doing. And there's so much more to share with you, and I can go on and on and on, but I want you to say hello to Valerie, and then we'll get going. Valerie, I'm bringing you in. Hello and welcome. Great to see you here.
Hi, Joy. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy and honored to see you here. I gave a brief, quick background, but more importantly, we want to hear from you exactly what it is that you're doing now and why you love what you're doing so much. And you can just take that however and wherever you'd like to take it.
Sure. So I actually like to start with why I started doing what I'm doing now, because I think a lot of times when people hear social worker, they might think of someone who works with children or someone who works for the state or things like that. So I like to share a little bit about kind of how I got here and why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So as you mentioned, I have my master's in social work. My focus was in mental health and also medical settings. And I love that work. I was called to it. I don't think that anybody that goes into social work isn't called into it, because you don't go into it for the fame or the glory or the money so much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was definitely called into the work, and I love that work. It was really very fulfilling, and it was a great fit for me for a long time. As you mentioned, over 10 years. And so in 2013, my husband and I got married, and it was the most glorious day ever. I felt like a true life princess. I really did. It was amazing. It was such just a blessed, beautiful, wonderful day. And I was just excited to be his wife. And we scooted off to our honeymoon, and we went 2 weeks in Hawaii, which I don't know if you've ever been to Hawaii, Joy, or any islands, but it's just something about it is just magical.
The right word. Yes, I have been there several times, and it is magical. You couldn't have picked a better word to describe it. Yes.
Yeah. And so I really felt like, someone just could pinch me. I felt like I was living in a dream. And so I came back and I went back to work. I was working in a dialysis clinic where people are very, very sick. Mm-hmm. And I went back to work, and it was my second day back to work, and I was still just on a cloud. I was so happy and joyful. Mm-hmm. And bouncing around the clinic. And of course, people, my patients are like, this girl's crazy. But what's that?
They said probably, what's wrong with her?
Yeah. So they just couldn't believe how joyful I was. And I was always a joyful person anyway, but this just was next level joy. Mm-hmm. And so I was bouncing around the clinic, and around lunchtime, my clinic secretary came over to me and she said, Valerie, your husband's here. I guess he just couldn't stay away from you. And I was like, oh my gosh, how romantic. That's amazing. And so I put my stuff down and I rushed up to the front of the clinic. And as soon as I saw him, I knew that he wasn't there for romance. And yeah, he took my hands and he said, sweetie, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but your parents are gone.
Oh,
yeah.
and
I didn't understand what he was saying. I was like, they're not planning a vacation. I don't understand. You know, they lived near me. I didn't really understand what he was saying. And he said, well, I'm so sorry, honey. There's no easy way to tell you this, but your parents were killed last night in a home invasion.
oh my God.
Yeah.
My.
And as soon as he said that, the TV behind him in the break room flashed to breaking news, and I could see the home where I grew up, and I could see my grandmother with the police detectives, and I could see the headline which said, couple found dead in Orange County home.
Oh,
and as soon as I saw that, it kind of hit me what he was saying, and all of the breath left my body, and I just collapsed to the floor, and he just sort of kind of scooped me up, and I don't really remember the details of the rest of the day. I know he took me home, and you know, I just kind of collapsed really. And so basically, you know, my career that day ended because there was no way that I could go back to an environment where it was very stressful, very high stress position with 125 patients on my caseload. And I was responsible for their emotional well-being. How could I be there for them when I myself was in such a place of turmoil and really trauma? PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is what we would call it from a mental health perspective. And so that's, you know, my career ended, but at the same time, my business was born because what happened. Yes, Joy?
That's the question I wanted to ask you. That is beyond devastating, isn't a large enough word for what you experienced at that time.
Yeah.
But that was like a turning point for you, is what I'm hearing. And after, not even after, but during, is that when you came to the realization to do what?
Well, the first realization I had was I'm the oldest daughter and I have to take care of things. And the second realization that I had was I will not let this destroy me. I know this is darkness. I know this is something that's meant to destroy me and take me out of the game.
Yeah.
And I refuse to allow that to be the thing to take me out, because they already took my parents from me. I wasn't going to let them rob me of my life too. And that was the realization that I had. And at the time, I didn't know that that would mean creating a business, you know, and all of these things. I was really focused just on, I have to get myself in a place where I'm able to step back in and serve people the way that I know I was created to do.
How did you, there's so much that's twirling through your head at this time and during this time. How did you decide to do what you're doing now? When did that come to you? Or was that a gradual procession into what you're doing now as far as your work?
Yeah, so it was a gradual process because healing is a gradual process.
Absolutely.
And so as I continued to heal, what started to happen is I was actually going out and sharing my story, and it was related to the health portion of my business that I have now. It was related to that specifically, and I really started that just as a way to feel like I was making an impact and really start to get myself out there. So I was doing this health coaching stuff, which I was sharing my story and how I got into my business. And people were asking me, Val, you know, this happened in 2013. And I started doing this in like maybe 2015, where I was out really actively sharing with people in different settings. And they started asking me, Val, I get what you're saying about the health thing. And will you coach me? Will you teach me how you're okay? Because you're a miracle. You're like a miracle standing here, right?
Absolutely. How did you initially make that transition from that devastating life experience to coaching women? How did you get out, start your coaching, speaking business? How did you start that? You said people started to ask you, can you help me? Tell us more about how you came to do that.
So specifically with the coaching, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So people would ask me, and honestly, I would say to them, I'm not ready for that. At first I was like, I don't know that I really want to go there, because therapy is what I used to do. And I thought that's what they were asking me for. But I've since come to learn there's a difference between being someone's therapist and being someone's coach. And I didn't want to put the old therapy shoes back on.
Let's qualify that, Valerie.
Yeah.
That's a very profound statement that you just made. And many of us, I had a lovely guest a couple of weeks ago who said many people don't really understand and separate coaching from other things. So tell us in your words the difference between coaching and being a therapist. How do you differentiate between the two?
For me, in my mind, a therapist, and some therapists are have their own style. Every therapist has their own style, but for me, therapy was a little more passive, and you had to really have a diagnosis for someone that was coming to see you. And a lot of times you're working in a situation where you're billing insurance or you're answering to someone, and so you're having to put a label on the person. So for me, coaching is less about the label. It's less about observations or whatever. It's more about really proactively locking arms with someone to support them and taking them to the next level. And one of the biggest differences for me is that as a therapist, a lot of times I was working with people who had very complex mental health issues, very complex. And as a coach, I don't work with people who have those complex mental health issues. I work with what we call like the worried well.
I love that separation because
Yeah.
you nailed it. You nailed it. I think those in the audience who are here now and those who will listen to the replay will really get the profound difference between the two. Because a lot of people think when you have a coach or you need a coach or you get a coach for whatever your reasons, that there is some issue there that's beyond the norm. And yes, but it's not always borderline on not having enough confidence or some mental type of issue. So that was beautifully explained, Valerie. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So that's really what happened. And eventually I understood that. And I'm someone who's very very intuitive, and I was feeling led to do the coaching with people. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to open myself up to it. I'm going to open my heart up to it. And people kept asking me, teach me your ways. How did you get to this point, having an amazing relationship and having, an incredible family life, being so physically healthy, financially stable, spiritually connected. So it's really like, it's really, people were asking me, how did you get there? And so my goal is to teach people how to get where they want to go in spite of their challenges, in spite of their life situations.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is a question that I'm sure people who will be listening to this after the fact will have. You get people who come to you who have had some, let's say, life tragedy in their life, and they look for you to share your experiences with them so that it will open up and dissolve maybe some of the issues and stuff that they're dealing with. Are you getting most of the people who come to you from the networking groups that you've joined and people that you're meeting through your website? How do people come to you?
It's really a mix. I do a lot of speaking, both at networking groups and also outside of networking groups. Like next July, I have a speaking engagement with a group of health information management
Ah,
employees, and my topic is preventing burnout,
yes.
which is something I know a lot about and was certainly burnt out in many ways. Even before the loss of my parents, starting to feel the burn of, the emotional burden of the work I was doing. And
Uh-huh.
so just many different ways. I even have people that, have been in my life, just connected some way or another, maybe through my fitness group or things like that, and they see me on Facebook, they see me talking about what I'm doing, and they're like, what are you up to, what is this, I need to know about this, just kind of asking me how they can get involved with coaching or the workshops and stuff.
Indeed. I love it. I love it. You have something here that I wanted to ask you about, and I'm sure the audience will want you to explain this. You have a system called Five to Thrive that
Mm-hmm.
helps women negotiate challenges, reduces the impact of stress, and on and on and on. What can you tell us about this system of Five to Thrive? How can you explain that to us that will inspire and enlighten and awaken something within us?
Yes. So obviously in my coaching and in my workshops and in my speaking, sometimes I get more in depth with it and we don't have time to really pick it apart. But
Yes.
what I can share with you is the 5 principles that I found, because I really needed a way that I could simply teach people how I got to where I was. And so I reflected back on my own healing process. And what I found was these 5 different areas. So faith, finances, fitness, friends and family, and there's one more.
I love this.
faith. Oh, forgiveness. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard one for many people,
Yeah. Yeah. So.
especially if they've had a devastating loss like you. And this might not be the right timing, but timing is always something elusive. To go back to that loss that there are no words for, did you find out who did this home invasion? Never.
No, there hasn't been any arrest. There was no strong evidence about who it would have been or motivation or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I ask you that question, Valerie, for a reason, because that forgiveness would be very, very difficult under those circumstances. And yet, when you're into healing and forgiveness, you have to be at that level. So that's one of the reasons I ask you that. But you said faith, finances, fitness, forgiveness, and I missed one.
The other one is friends and family. And when I say friends and family, I really mean your support system. The people who support you. They could be friends, they could be family, they could be therapists, they could be coaches, they could be mentors. They could be people that, like you, Joy, that inspire people through their Facebook, interviews or things like that. Those are the type of people I'm referring to, and really setting yourself up with the right people so that you can thrive, no matter what life throws at you. So that's what I mean by friends and family, and that's something we talk a lot about this time of year with my clients, because it's kind of in your face right now.
Very
So.
good. Excellent for so many reasons. You have two in here that I want you to speak a little bit more to because they're all favorites for me because this is my journey and all of us who are in this arena more or less. And that's faith and fitness. Fitness
Mm.
is a big one, and finances. So because when it comes to what I'm discovering, not only for me, but for others, when it comes to fitness and finance, for many women, especially the more mature, those can be kind of iffy. So, how do you help and support people, women? Or would you say your audience predominantly would be women?
Predominantly, yes.
Predominantly.
Mhm.
How can you speak to us about faith, fitness, and finances, about the 5 ways to thrive in that arena?
Yeah, so with finances, I always clarify that I'm not a financial advisor. That's not what I talk about with
Yeah,
finances.
I get
It's
it.
more about the mindset and the emotional side of finances. And I honestly, finances and fitness are sort of related in my mind. I mean, all of these things are interconnected, but you taking care of yourself, it can show up, or not taking care of yourself can show up in your finances and also in your physical fitness. And there's so much emotion around food and also around money. And so what we talk about in coaching and in my workshop is really the emotional side of what you're doing with your money, with your, with your food habits, with your physical activity habits. And a lot of it goes back to things like self-worth. If you feel like you're worthy of receiving money from people and those types of things. And then the fitness thing with food, it's such an emotional topic for people. So
I'm grinning from ear to ear and I'm smiling from ear to ear because you nailed it for me, because I've always had a connection and a deep-seated understanding about fitness and finances. I think they do go together. And also, well, the five of them, they are synchronized together, and they can only be impactful when they're used in that way. And the way that you express the emotional factor, especially for us women, is vital. So fitness is a big one. And somehow for many of us, Valerie, I'm not just speaking for me, because I, as you, meet with lots of women from young to mature to ageless. And that fitness thing becomes an issue for many women. They make every excuse in the world not to get into the physical fitness. And it's so vital. It really is.
It really is, because it's all connected. Again, when you physically take care of your body, you're more confident. You feel better. When you feel better, you can do more. So it's all connected, even to our hormones. What we eat affects our hormones. What we do activity-wise affects our hormones, which affects our ability to navigate challenges.
Yes,
And that's what I'm about, is
right.
really showing women how to when life events happen, whether it's preventative or it's something that's happened in the past that we're dealing with, how to thrive no matter what situation comes at you, because we all face things, unexpected illnesses, unexpected loss of finances. I talk with a lot of women who their job situations change unexpectedly. So there's so many things that go on with that. So it's so important that we take care of our physical body in order to thrive in all the different areas of our life.
I love that. Because the physical body for me and for you, I haven't asked you and I don't know, but I'm just consuming or assuming that this is your mindset too. Your body is your temple.
Oh, yes.
And so you have to care for it. And somehow, and I have my loyal and faithful here. She says, yep, a procrastination queen sitting here in front of the screen.
Oh.
It's very easy to procrastinate and make excuses. And yet, these five that you've given us, in order to thrive, you have to combine and work them together in a way that's beneficial for you, that gives you the confidence that you're looking for. That's another big C word that I love, Valerie, and we can speak to that a wee bit more, because there are a lot of us women, for numerous reasons, who are parading around and the confidence isn't there. And you have to be able to go inside and dig deeper into a lot of things that will work to your benefit when you know that you have combined these five things to thrive. I think that's really important. I love the way you put them together too. The
Thank
women
you.
who come to you predominantly, this might not be easy to answer, but I think you can. What would you say would be the number one reason that they come to you?
Because that's actually easy for me to answer.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Because they know that they were made for more. They know they were created for something more.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's something inside of them. I know that was me. Even when I was in social work, I remember there were times where I felt like, is this really it for me? I know I was made for more than this. I know I can make a bigger impact. and to thrive, and you can't really make the impact you want to make, whether that's, it doesn't have to be humongous. It doesn't have to be on a large scale. It can even just be within your own self or within your family or whatever, or being an example for other people on how to take care of yourself, whatever it is. You were made for more, you're created for more, and there's something inside of them that's kind of pulling at them. And that's how they end up with me, because they're not quite sure what that is, or they're not quite sure how to get there, or things like that.
Yes, I don't think that could be put in a better way, because for you and for me and the women who are tuning in, and the men as well, we're not sexist, you have to understand that we're all here for a purpose and a reason. And finding that purpose and reason is not easy for a lot of people. It's a journey. And
of course,
you need other people to help you, support you, and help to guide you, because you know that inner something is there just waiting to explode. And when you get your own sense of self together, then you're able to give it back out to those who need it, which is exactly what you're doing, Valerie. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the loss that you had was beyond devastating, but you've taken it and taken that pain and that suffering and turned it around so that you can help and inspire other women who are going through all kinds of obstacles and maybe searching for that confidence that's in there to come up and thrive.
Yes.
There is no better journey to take than that. That might light you up from time to time when you see the light bulbs go off.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And what you were just talking about there with purpose and meaning and all of those things, just to go back to something you asked me about the other pillar, which is faith.
Yes.
It really, it's not about, when I say faith, it's not about religion or a certain, belief system, because I work with people from all different backgrounds and all different belief systems. It's about that knowingness that you were created for a purpose. It's about that knowingness that there's something bigger at work than you just kind of, moving around in like this, I don't know, like there's just something bigger at work in our life. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about faith with people, and really, talk to them about where they're at with their faith. And, certainly people sometimes get away from their faith because of life circumstances. What's that about? How can we get you back there? Is it helpful to get you back there? Like, those are all the types of things that we talk about around faith.
Faith can be very iffy for many people, and you in particular and me, because we think global, and most of us, not you and not me, but tend to stay in our little circle. But people have faith that broadens itself out on so many levels. And so you have to be open to listening and to hearing how someone else perceives and takes in their belief in whatever their faith might be. It might not be yours.
Sure.
But it's a broad word that can be very confusing for people. And the more aware you are of yourself and your belief in whatever it is that you believe, the better able you are to guide others to their purpose and their journey. And what you just said, Valerie, is so on point, because most people who are, I like to say, in a position of leadership or wanting to be, they know that there's something in them that they have to bring up and out, because it's to be shared. It's not to be for them and them alone. And that's why I love the show and what you're doing and the work that you're doing. Would you say that most of the women who come to you are young, middle, or aged?
I would say it's a spectrum. It really is. To me, age is such an interesting thing, because it's just how long your feet have been on this earth. It's not really, of course there are developmental milestones, if you will.
Yes.
But everyone's journey is different. And so you might work with someone who's, in their 30s, but you have someone in their 60s experiencing the same type of issue, and that's important to remember. Yeah. Just like, I think it's Ross is saying, remembering it's not a race, that we're on our own path. And it's so true. And when I worked at the university with college students, that was something we talked about all the time is, who decided that you had to do this in 4 years? Who was it that decided that? Was that you? Is that what you want? You know what I mean? Like it's not about comparison and comparing yourself to someone else's journey, because you don't know what's going on for them and all of the different things that they've experienced. So I would say it really is a spectrum.
I love Valerie. You're pushing all my buttons in there. The good buttons.
You were so cute. Oh my gosh.
I I have never ever bought into numbers, and whenever somebody asks, when I was younger and now that I'm a happy senior, how old are you? I don't ask people how old they are because it doesn't matter. I look to the eyes, I look to the heart, I listen, I observe, and they can be 16, they could be 93. It doesn't matter. And the spectrum, as you put it, about what they're doing and why they're doing at whatever age, that's all you need to know. And people come to different awareness. They are awakened at different times in their lives. And our responsibility is to be there for them when they are ready for you. It's very simple that way. And for a young person, my love, you have a beautiful outlook on that, because that's the outlook that we all need to have. It's like sometimes when you go to events and you're in a lot of networking events, and the first thing they want to know, not your name or just to say hello and it's great to see you here and you look great or whatever, is what do you do? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay, but there's a way that you can do that that has more grace and more style.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's the work that you're doing is to be commended. Now, can you share with us? Ross says, and yes, this is true. Age is only a number. Yes, it is, and it's a number that has weight and not so, depending on a lot of variables. Valerie, tell us what you have planned for the future. We're going to put up your not your email, your website.
Mm-hmm.
And all of your links that you sent to me, and that will be on Joyce TV, and you will get this after the fact. But is there anything that you have in the hopper that you're planning for the future that you want to tell us about that we can all get excited about with you?
Well, I certainly still have my coaching, which I do everything virtually. So there's no limitation to, location, which is wonderful. So one-on-one coaching, which is always great. And then also I am launching a group coaching that will be more of like a teaching.
Yes.
Where I go more in depth about the 5 to Thrive. And that's going to be something that I'm launching in the new year. And that is really just a way for people to kind of learn the principles, start to apply them, see how it's working, certainly ask questions, within the group and things like that. So that's really a way for people to kind of, get the information that they're looking for that might help them to move to the next level. And sometimes they, may come into individual coaching if they find that they just have a lot of personal stuff around one topic or multiple topics. But they can at least get the foundation of the principles and really start doing the work there. So that's something I have coming in the new year. So it's pretty exciting.
Will that be in January? You'll be launching February, March. When did you say?
February.
February. That'll be great. Well, if you can give or send through a link where people can, after this goes up, it will have your name and your website. And so they can click on that, because I'm sure your website is going to note this workshop that you'll be doing in February, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So then they'll be able to connect with you there and get on board and see what you're about and how you do your work. So is there any question that we have you have to see this one, Valerie. She says, our body is only the carrier for our soul.
So true.
We have a very wise lady here in the audience. We have several. Is there anything that you want to ask us or anyone in the audience? Is there anything you want to share other than that before we say so long for now? Is there anything that you want to speak more about? Is there anything at all that you want to share, that you want to leave this audience and the audience that will come after the fact with, that they can take with them and it will stay with them?
Well, I just like to always tell people that no matter what you're facing in life, I know we all face challenges. I know we all face things that we think are meant to take us out of the game. And I just want everyone to know, this is my passion, is for every person to really know that they were made to thrive. And no matter what life circumstances they're facing, no matter what challenges, it's possible for them to thrive in every area of their life. And so I just want to be encouraging and share, that's my heart, for people to just know that and really just know that in their core.
I don't think there's a better way to end this, because what you just said, based on what you share with us, your own life story and what happened to you, to be able to do this work and to be impactful for others is to be applauded. And I applaud you. I'm honored that we connect, and we're connected, and we will always be, because I'm loyal and faithful as well as my audience. And once I connect with someone, I never let them go.
Awesome. So, I love that.
I love that as well. So Valerie, I'm going to put you to the side for now.
Okay.
Don't go. I just want to say goodbye to the audience for now, or so long, and then I'll get back to you in just a second. All
Wonderful.
right?
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you. My pleasure. Now, what can I say, guys? It's always a pleasure to have you here. And I know we're in this merry, 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 happy holiday season, and everybody's got all kinds of things that they're doing. So for you to take the time, my two Rosses, my love, one with ROS and one with the ROZ. I adore and love you both, and you know that. I'm honored when I see that you show up here, because I know how busy we all are. So I'm grateful. I hope that you will share this video out with others that you know would appreciate it. Valerie is a beautiful lady who has a lot of good things in the hopper that she'll be doing coming into the new year. And if not for you, you might know of someone who can benefit from the services that she offers. And you can tell by just listening to her that her heart and her soul, as you would say, Roz, are both there. So you guys be well and take care. We're into the new year next week. Can't wait. It's going to be a blast for all of us. Take care, be well, all the best, and I look forward to seeing you again in the new year. Until then, so long for now. Cheers.